So we're going to look at Splanky. This is a real famous Count Basie tune. Um, this is an arrangement that's very, very close. The intro is a little bit different than the actual version, and the ending is a little bit different. The ending, I believe, in the original version just ends with dee-dum, ba-doo-dee-dum. So it kind of jumps to this last ending. That would be here. So it's like if you just got rid of those 4 bars, that would kind of be what the original sounds like with Basie. So a couple of things about this chart and why you need to annotate these things. There's too much information here in the beginning, and this really isn't this big unison hit the way it looks compared to how it's actually written. And all of this business, all these figures that are written in this section do not need to be there at all. The drummer does not need that information. They don't need to be confused by that. They don't need to be tempted to play or set those up. None of that needs to be there. This is good. It's a nice triplety fill. I really feel like there should be some accents here in this, because this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, but ba dum dee dum. You need to know that this note is the first note of the phrase, and you can't really tell from looking at this. One other note here. This says 5 times. It's this little riff 5 times, but I think that's a weird way to think about it. I'd rather think about this as 2 choruses of blues, and then we come back into this shout section. So we're going to go through and label a handful of things. So once you have your chart with you, if you want to label along, we'll go ahead and get started. So here we go. So the first thing I want to add to this is some just text, English text, because there's not enough information on this chart. It doesn't make sense the way it is. So the first thing we're going to put in here real big is that it is a 12-bar blues. Now, jazz players don't usually refer to them as 12-bar blues. Will just say a blues, but I think when you're working in an educational big band, that type of thing, you want to write 12-bar blues. I'm also going to put here at the top, this starts with just the trio. And I think it's important to know that it starts with just the trio. I'm going to put trio, and I'm going to put the groove here, which is, I'm recommending that they do hi-hat half open. So you're going to start with the trio with the hi-hat half opened. So I added 2 more things here. Put just the text easy here. You could put light, not too big, something like that, because these are full ensemble hits, but they're not nearly as big as the ones that happen later. And again, I put trio here because this is just, again, you got to bring it way, way down, and there's no dynamic change written in, but you need to bring it way down for that trio section. All right, so we're going to look at this. I'm going to just write the phrase here, ignore figures. You don't need any of these figures. Your drummer can really tune out, just listen and play a really good groove for 2 choruses of blues. So this 2L refers to second gear. So that's like a Jimmy Cobb groove where it's like ting, 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 clap, da ding, ting, ting, clap. Because the drummer's not going to play 4 quarter notes. This straight time is not a standard language. That doesn't mean a specific groove, especially to a young drummer who might be unaware of that. So that's why I suggest second gear, and then this L is for the left side ride. So they're going to play over here. And then I just put the text here, ignore figures until second ending. Because until they get to here, their job is just to play really good jazz time, make the band feel good, and stay out of the way. Just be a good rhythm section player. So I've added a few more things here to talk about. So they need to play a little fill to help set up the top of the improvising here. So here's the top of the blues form. This is that traffic cop duty that your job a lot of times as a drummer is just to go, now we are going right here, and just help the band be aware of what's going on. And it's also good for the drummer's ears to hear that stuff. I put Hamilton Shuffle on the left side ride, and then this is the Shout Shuffle. How I chose these, it's kind of arbitrary, but this is a nice, quiet groove. It's a good thing to play on top of if you are a horn player. It's a nice, even, just to do, it gives you a nice bed to play on top of. How do you make these decisions when you're doing this with your drummer? Listen to the chart together and pause and just talk about it. What do you think we should play here? What do you think we should play there? And then be open with them that you're learning and they're learning. And maybe during rehearsal you go like, that's not good. I need something a little more busy or a little heavier or a little lighter. So make those decisions on the fly as well. So these circled notes, there's too much information here. What we need to know is the band goes 1, 2, da, ga, da, ba, ba, on those 2 notes, and then just play time. Boo, be, da, ga, da, ba, ba, boom, don't, ding, don't. Do da 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 time, do da 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 diddle do don't down, and I'll mark those again. Those are the hits that need to be played. All the other stuff is just too much information. And drum charts haven't been standardized. Does this mean time? Because up here, those 4 quarter notes mean time. Do these mean time right here? I would prefer to see slashes right there for time instead of those quarter notes. So you hear just the hits and then slashes for time. That'd be a lot easier to see, just like right here. All right. I went ahead and circled a few more of the key notes that need to be played there, and then just put an underline. You can just do a bracket because all those notes need to be played. So just taking a look at the rest of the chart here. We have a piano solo, so we want to do something that brings the volume down. This is kind of a building ensemble section, so we want to play something that's out of the way and doesn't interrupt the ensemble phrases. And then we have a build to our final shout section, which is a repeat of the shout section up here. So again, what I would suggest is you sit with your drummer and talk about these things. Well, it's a piano solo, so it's just going to be trio. What type of groove is going to sound good and be appropriate? You know, obviously playing a shout section shuffle is not going to work there. So you have to kind of maybe give them a choice. And then, do you need to remark all the same hits? This is the same shout section as above. Do you need to remark all those? At first, I would do it. After the drummer's comfortable, you can just put some English text there and just say, you know, same as previous shout section, and they'll be able to work around that. So I'll put those annotations and we'll go over those and we'll be done. So here's the final annotations. Clack groove here. Fill, and then I did mark the notes to hit and just put shout shuffle in the background so I know what groove to play. We didn't add a ton, but we added some titles. Often the text is more valuable than the notation, and again the goal on this is to take information away so the drummer can focus on listening and just playing what they need to play, giving them some formal structure, telling them it's a blues, here's the top, you know, this is the next section, this is the next section, and giving them some grooves to work on. It's kind of a paint by numbers thing. The first couple charts you do it hand in hand. Listen to the tune with your drummer. Then the next couple, ask your drummer to do them and then bring them to you. And then after they're more comfortable with this, they'll just do it as the chart comes to them or as they play it in band. They'll just start to mark it. And the more of a shorthand you can develop with knowing the names of the grooves and which symbol that you want when you're directing the band will help a lot.